Oh, you already got the likes up. That's what's up. I got the 3 likes up. Sunny days, chasing the clouds away. I'm about to do an inspection on this building here. Hold on. What's up, y'all? Oh, there ain't nobody even in here. Ain't nobody even in here. Are they gonna let me in this building? Let me see. I got this blocked. Hold on. What's going on? Anyway, what's good, y'all? What up? They changed the chat filter. All messages are coming through. Nobody should be blocked. Can y'all hear me? I'm sure y'all hear me. Yeah, exactly. It's been cloudy. It's been real shady. A whole lot of shade. But we done chased the clouds away. I'm not gonna be able to do this inspection on this building here. Not at all. Anyway, what's up, y'all? Patricia Blair, Jesse Smith, what's good? Yom J, what's good? What up? What up? What up? They shoot. Okay, y'all can hear me good. Thank you, Patricia. All right. So I was busy taking care of some business as usual. And let me know if y'all are interested in this topic, because it might be a little bit of a bit controversial. I'll say that. Might be a little bit controversial. It's gonna probably rub some people the wrong way. All right. Yeah, we got a sunny day today. Thank God. I'm not mad. Yeah, beautiful day. Now I'm actually visiting some of my people at this school, and I'm also in the midst of taking care of some business. Okay. So what's up? What's up? What's up? I'm just taking a stroll through. I'm over here on Florence and Western. Between Normandy and Western. We call this here a 20 twin. Nigga. Alright. Well, y'all know where that's from. I hope y'all know where that's from. Look at these homes, man. We are in South Central LA, and the houses, man. We was gang banging on palm trees. Well, they were gang banging on the palm trees. Yeah, that building behind me, they're finalizing the final construction on that. Actually do something from the top of the roof, but they're working. I'm not going to even disturb them. Yeah, this neighborhood over here was the A-Trays. This was the A-Tray neighborhood, and the school that I'm approaching is called Horseman. If you from LA, you knew this junior high. Like, this junior high was like a war zone. I just got out of there, and it's like a freaking prison. It is no joke. It's depressing. Most of these schools are like look like penitentiary. They look like penitentiaries. I'll just say it like that. Hold on. I'm probably getting wind. I'm gonna have to like post up. Oh yeah, I remember. I knew this girl that stayed over where her grandma stayed in one of these houses. I used to pick her up. Hold on. See this house right here? It's nice, right? And that house right there. They're like little, cute little homes. They're probably worth almost $1 million. Back then, they weren't even worth a couple $100,000. And that's what I'm going to speak on. I'm going to speak on. I would say that let's go mid '80s up until like late '90s. Where some people will call it the crack epidemic. So during the crack epidemic, and this is one of my OGs, he was telling me, and I was talking to him this morning, and I love talking to the OG, just good game. He was saying, well, this is what he did. Let me preface this and say he started talking about why do we have the certain climate? Why we have the certain climate in the dating world right now? It's because of what happened during the crack epidemic. And I was like, how, Sway? And he basically was saying that, long story short, he basically was saying that these women are spoiled because that's the I was saying hi to the police. Yep. He said these women nowadays are spoiled because of what happened during the crack epidemic. What's up, Mutt? What's up, Pretty Nikki, Gemini Queen? Yeah, please double tap the screen. Let's get them likes up, y'all. I'm just gonna give a little insight on stuff that I've been through, and then someone who's like, well, he's actually 10 years older, but I can also talk to someone who's like 20 years older, my senior. What's up, Auntie Leia? They gave me some insight, and I thought about it, and I said, oh man, they not lying. What the hell? Oh, I guess this is the neighborhood. That's RSC, stand for Rolling 60 Crip. Yeah, he said these women are spoiled because of what happened during the crack epidemic. And I asked him how. So he basically was saying, look, when he was young, let me post up for a second, because I know this wind is probably, y'all can hear the wind, because I can hear it. He said the women, before the crack epidemic, there was a certain standard. There was a certain standard that women would just have when it came to dating and, talking to guys and whatever. He even broke down, he was saying, when he was like in 11th grade, 12th grade, this happened to him, where all the fine girls were getting picked up by like dudes who were like 25, 30 years old at school, at his school. And, he was hustling, he was doing what he was doing, nothing illegal, but he couldn't compete with the dope boy who had the IROC Z's and the Suzuki Samurais and the lowriders. If you're from LA, those were classic ass cars that a lot of the D-boys had, right? He said those dudes were coming up to the high school to get the girls. And I kind of remember that too. I'm late 90s. I graduated, and I do remember that. And most of the fine girls were dealing with dudes that were 25 plus. And they were probably 16, 17. That's no lie. So he said, though, that during the crack epidemic, though, he would hustle. He was doing what he was doing, but he wasn't doing nothing illegal. But these guys that started out selling crack, slanging, they had the advantage. So they would have multiple women. They would just spend money on the little queen or girl, and it's like, the girl didn't have to do anything for the most part. And that changed the dynamic when it came to dating. So what he said was those young women who were the reciprocate, they were the recipients of the dope dealer. They was receiving all the money and all that and all the gifts. Those women had kids, and these kids now they have kids, and they have a certain expectation when it comes to dating. So that's why you got these women online talking about how they're talking. Basically, just like a sense of entitlement when it comes to dating. I guess that's what's going on right now when you talk about dating. Certain women in certain communities, they have a sense of entitlement. You have to buy me this. You have to do this. You got to do that. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Sassy Paws? Love is love. Yep. Yeah, like they have a sense of entitlement. They come with like really nothing to offer, but they're like, well, you got to give me this. So he said that all started with the crack era, from the crack epidemic, from the crack era basically. And I said, let me think about that. So I don't know if y'all agree upon that. Maybe it's bullshit. I don't know. Maybe y'all are, no, you tripping. Like Wolf, you tripping. If there's any truth in that, or if there's any, if I'm capping, if you think, yeah, I'm it's a stretch, let me know in the comments. 'Cause, this is something that he hit me with, and I never thought about that angle. Like I grew up like in one of the most crack infested neighborhoods in LA. In fact, two of them, There you go, Jesse. Yeah, I'm speaking facts. Okay. So there's a sense of entitlement with certain people in our community that came from that privilege. So I was on the opposite end. My family was adversely affected, negatively affected by the crack epidemic. If you don't know what the crack epidemic is, essentially in the 80s there was a situation with the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. There was a war going on in Nicaragua. Manuel Noriega, if you ever heard that name, Noriega was the president, the leader of this country, and there's a Monroe Doctrine. Let's start with that. Ever since World War II, there's a Monroe Doctrine where Russia, and this really happened during the Cold War with the Cuban Missile Crisis, but Russia has no business on this side of the hemisphere, meaning anything with North America, South America, the islands, none of that. Like Russia ain't got nothing. Russia is nowhere. It's not supposed to be. It's basically hoods. What did Michael Jackson say on that song, Black or White? It's a turf war on a global scale. I'd rather hear both sides of the tale. See, it's not about racists, but faces. Like Mike was spitting. Y'all really got to understand. Mike knew what was up. Shout out to Michael Jackson. I heard he's still alive. Anyway, Russia ain't supposed to be doing nothing on this side of the hemisphere. United States ain't supposed to be doing nothing on their side of the hemisphere. Meaning like, Asia, Moscow, like Russia and the United States ain't supposed to be doing nothing over there. Meaning like the situation with Ukraine. So Ukraine was part of the USSR back then, and now Ukraine is like, oh, we're our own thing, and essentially Ukraine. The United States wants to back Ukraine and be independent. The same thing that was going on back day with Nicaragua. The Sandinistas were funded by the Russians, and it has something to do with Afghanistan, I believe, as well, because Russia, Afghanistan. But long story short, the Sandinistas needed funding, or they were basically fighting. It was basically supposed to be like a Russian enclave, or a Russian, like almost like how Cuba is basically communist. When the Russians tried to help Fidel Castro, and supposedly they were going to bring some nuclear weapons to the island, and it was so close to the United States, there was almost World War III from that. So that's why there's that Monroe Doctrine. Basically, Russians ain't supposed to be dealing with no governments on this side of the hemisphere, and we ain't supposed to be dealing with them. But the Sandinistas were tied with the Russians. The Sandinistas were essentially trying to make Nicaragua like almost like a Russian enclave. Long story short, there became a war within Nicaragua, a civil war. And Reagan wanted to fight, but the Congress was like, we're not finna fight that. That's not us. We ain't worried about that. So they were not getting funding from the Congress. So they figured out a way how they can get funding through Iran. It's an Iran-Contra situation, giving Iran some damn weapons in exchange for, and it was something to do with the drugs in Nicaragua. How they get the money? Basically, the drugs from Nicaragua started in South Central LA, and it just spread like crazy. I mean, cocaine was always a drug within Hollywood. Pretty sure you guys heard of a situation where Richard Pryor got burnt freebasing crack or cocaine, essentially. Cocaine is sniffable. I'm not familiar with any of this stuff. I don't do those drugs, right? But cocaine is sniffable, but it's not smokable. But during the 80s, and actually I think there's records showing that they actually came up with the smokable cocaine in UCLA in the late 60s. They came up with the formula to make smokable cocaine, baking soda, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not finna tell y'all how to do it. I don't even know how to do it. But anyway, they've been knowing about this smokable cocaine that people could get high from 10 years prior. Then when there was a flood of cocaine coming from Nicaragua because they needed funding, there was an Iran-Contra situation, Oliver North, Bill Casey from the CIA. Do your research. I'm kind of like killing the story, but I'm kind of give you a little context of what was going on back then, where you had a whole bunch of people who, it was essentially chemical warfare. It was essentially chemical warfare. And the reason why I say it is because cocaine is addictive. Cocaine is like sugar. I think there's like a few molecules away from sugar or whatever. They figured, let's get cocaine to the inner city, and that'll give us money so that we can fight the Sandinistas. And it worked like a charm because there was a guy named Danilo Blandone, and I read this in Rick Ross' book. Go check out Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross. Freeway Rick Ross has a book, and he grew up over here. That's why I'm even talking about this, because he grew up in this area right here. Shout out to Freeway Rick Ross. He talked about what he went through in the 80s and what was going on with him. I mean, in the 70s and 80s or whatever, what was going on with him, how the environment of the LA was, and how there was not a lot of money. It was a lot of destitute. We're just like kind of coming off of the Cold War. So back in the day, there were in Compton, you had Firestone, you had a naval yard, you had a lot of like middle class families making money off of, they had government jobs, they had factory jobs. In the 80s, that was all being dissipated. So the young person in the neighborhood, they really didn't have opportunity like that. And plus, the rise of the gangs, and it's just a perfect environment. I think Rick Ross played tennis, and he had a connection with, did he have a connection with, what's that one popular drug dealer that people know, but he's from actually Colombia. I forget his name, I'm sorry. Anyway, Rick was just in that right circle. He knew people. He was able to get a connect straight from like the source, Nicaraguan, was like, Danny Blandone was like, yeah, I'm the man. I can get you woo, woo, woo. Get them all kind of dope. And Rick got the hookup. Rick was the man, and he was hooking all the hoods up with all the dope. And all of a sudden, there was this formula called rock cocaine, Ready Rock. It's funny, me and Jag was talking about that. Hold on, do I see Slum American here? Hey, Slum American, I seen you in some enemy chats, bro, or whoever you are. I'm gonna just put you on timeout. You gotta email me, because I've seen you in some enemy chats talking all kind of madness, bro. So no participation from you. Sorry. Speaking of, there was a situation though where it was like the perfect opportunity. Rick Ross had the connection with all the dope, the gangs, and there was an underground market where money, millions of dollars were being made. And I think Rick was, he said he made so much money in one day. I forget how much he said. I gotta go reach out to Rick, basically. But y'all can check out his book. He got a book called Cracks in the System, and also read a book by John Potash called The FBI War on Tupac Shakur and Other Black Leaders. This is where I get all my game from. I don't just be talking this shit and just it's coming out my ass. I'm a researcher. So I read books, and I'll read one book and I'll read 7 books from that one book to just quantify what it is that I'm talking about, so I can understand, so I can give the game, or at least I understand. But the crack epidemic, it was like the perfect time, perfect place. Reaganomics. Reagan was cutting all kind of, crazy people all on the street, because back in the day, you can call, it was called 5150. You can call them, hey, I got 5150. They'll give you money for saying a person is crazy, and they'll just put them in a mental institution. But that got defunded. So Reagan was just letting people off, letting people out. So, and the karma for him was he ended up getting shot by someone that should have been in a mental institution. But look that up. The same guy, was it Sirhan? Maybe I'm tripping. But somebody did shoot Reagan that should have been locked in a mental institution. But the mental institutions were just, okay, we can't fund these people, let them out. So it was like, I remember when I was little, it was homeless people, like crazy people. I remember going downtown, this dude just in the middle of the street, talking about some skin diving, he was a white guy, crazy as cat shit, just yelling at him, shirt off, and just, and it was the psychosis, it was crack, it was the disparity, there was a lot going on. So the generation that was grew up in the 60s, Vietnam vets and stuff, they came home. If they didn't get caught on that H, they probably were on that crack. And crack was so readily available. When Rick got that connect with Danny Blandone, and he was able to, get that formula, teach everybody how to make that rock. It's like baking soda, it's this and that. Like I said, I don't know how to make it. But he taught the people how to make the rock. And again, when you're in a situation where you feel like there's no hope, you're probably gonna turn to drugs. So a lot of people in the hood, they once were middle class, and now they become they step down in the economic ladder. Now they're lower middle class or poor, working poor. They probably were, hitting the pipe. I could even remember when I was in Compton, a friend of mine, shout out to my boy Robert, his dad lived next to us, him and his brother, and then they lived next to us, and they had a nice house and stuff. But I think even his dad and his mom was on crack, straight up. And they were living in a nice house and stuff, but I think they low key were like on some they were some dope heads. So it affected a lot of people. Not everybody got hooked, I guess. You could smoke crack and not get hooked. I wasn't finna try it. But a lot of people got hooked. I think it was just a thing where it's kind of like weed right now. Like, I don't smoke weed, but weed right now, everybody, it's just so acceptable. Everybody smoke weed, but I don't trust it, because ain't no telling what they spraying. If I ain't grow it, I ain't finna smoke it. But weed was, crack was so, like, I guess kind of like acceptable. Even Ronald Reagan even had like a commercial, low key. It's like, we're going breaking news. There's this new form of drug out there called crack, smokable cocaine. Now, when I saw it, I was like, not when I was little, I saw the commercial, but it didn't really hit home. But now when I see in hindsight, I'm like, damn, he was advertising. Because he was like, yeah, this is smokable cocaine. He had a vial of crack on national TV showing everybody, this is the new drug, smokable cocaine. That ain't do nothing but promote it. So the crack epidemic spread. It was not just South Central LA. It just became, it was going everywhere. So a lot of these dudes, I know a lot of these gangsters that lived around here. I knew one dude who would go back and forth to Florida. So it just went everywhere. And then you got people that they have family in Texas, they have family in Detroit, but crack went everywhere. Crack affected everyone. And that's why I'm saying it was a chemical warfare, because instead of like spraying DDT or spraying Zyklon B on the people, they hit you with the crack. And crack ain't nothing but, like I said, cocaine and baking soda. It was chemically birthed in UCLA. So what did that do? That chemical altered the whole nation, at least for the most part, the black community. So now you have women. I don't know if y'all seen Boys in the Hood. If you ever saw that at the beginning, when Trey is older. First, the movie started out when they were little, and then, moving into the second scene, Trey's a little bit older, the main character. He picks a little baby up that was almost about to get hit by a dang on car in South Central. Kind of like on the street like this. He picked her up, took her to the mama house, and the mama is looking all cracked out. And she's like, you got some rock? You got some blow? Like, they made it a joke, and Don't Be a Menace. They were stupid. But that was real life. Like, you had a lot of women who, like, would just abandon their kids for crack. You had a lot of women, I think, and not to be vulgar like that, prostitution. It probably was like, I don't know, $40-50 to get a woman, to get some prostitute, whatever. It went down to $5. So just think about that. Overnight, that the price of that just went down $5 because it was like you can get a $5 rock. They would sell rock like $5. It wasn't like you get a $2 rock. It would be $5, $10, $20 double up, $50. You know, like that's how they did it. That's how they did it. It was like, you know, increments like that. And Cash was making money. Cash was making money, but a lot of people were losing their life and losing their quality of life. So yeah, you had $5 hookers. So think about what that did to relationships. You know what I'm saying? $5 hookers. And then think about the guys who were benefiting from the crack epidemic. They were like not good guys because they were selling dope to their community. Like, that's why I look at Jay-Z funny. I'm like, dude, you really, your whole platform is, oh, well, yeah, well, you know, I sold crack. Hov did that, but you ain't got to go through that. You should have did that. If you got any kind of morals about yourself, Jay-Z, you wouldn't have sold crack at all. So that's just my beef with Jay-Z. And I had beef with Rick Ross, but when I met him in person, you know, I understand the man and I get it, and I understand what was going on with him. It was a opportunity, and a lot of times people who are poor, they will take opportunity, like an opportunity for, what do they call it? I forgot what the law enforcement term was, but anyway, he said, "Oh no, exhibit. I am not exhibit. Yeah, pimp my ride. I'll pimp your mama. That's what I'm gonna do." But the situation though was that crack epidemic was a situation that destroyed communities, and it enriched others. So those others that were enriched, if you didn't have no money and then you just all of a sudden you had money, and money ain't like power. I'll keep it a buck. Money is just transactional. Money is just it's currency. And if you were a dork like Jay-Z, yeah, I said it, a dork like Jay-Z, and all of a sudden you had money, you have this perception that you're powerful. So you can have access to any girl. What's up, Kamari M? What's up? You can have access to any girl, whatever you like, you know, like, so, you know, you tricking, you know, what Lil Wayne said, it ain't tricking unless if it ain't tricking if you got it. Yeah, he say, he ain't tricking if you got it. Anyway, you say I'm frozen? I'm okay? Okay, all right. Yeah, a lot of these dope boys made it acceptable to be like, oh, well, you know, that's just gonna be my princess, and I'm just gonna trick on her, and I got all this money and blah, blah, blah. And they spoiled a lot of women. They spoiled a lot of women. The smart ones took their dope money and, you know, put it into real legit business. And then you got a lot who just like, they're gonna keep going. That's how Rick Ross originally got caught. I'm good, Kamari. I'm good. That's how Rick Ross got caught. He made a lot of money. I think he ended up getting caught up, but then he said, I'm done. But then one of his boys was like, let's just do one more hit, man, like 100 kilos. And you know, Rick Ross was like, I'm cool. I ain't trying to do this. His boy came, oh man, just hook me up with your guy. You know, he's all right. He gonna hook him up. He's like, 100 kilos. That's it. It's a movie called 100 Kilos where it's about Rick Ross, and he hooked the dude up with the 100 kilos, and it was a setup. Danny Blandone, he was already a fed. He was a fed from the jump. So he got him caught up. I think Danny Blandone is somewhere. Rick was saying he's still somewhere out there in Nicaragua, or maybe he's dead by now. But he didn't face no prosecution or nothing. He did all that dealing, and he's straight. He was straight. So greed, because Rick was like, yeah, I'm out the game, but then he did that one last hit, and then boom, he ended up getting caught up, and then he's supposed to do life. I think I was surprised when he got out, and then when I finally met him and talked to him, very insightful, very, very smart brother. He couldn't read. Like he said up until his adult life, he couldn't read. He didn't start learning how to read till he went to jail. So again, shout out to Freeway Rick. So a person like that can be redeemed. A person like Jay-Z, I don't know. Because see, Jay, bro, the actions is karma. Karma don't mean like, what goes around come around, or what you put. It's just life work. So don't get it twisted. Even with this Puffy stuff, life work. Puffy done put out a whole bunch of BS. His life work is coming back. I don't think he's gonna be exonerated or free. He's going down. And Jay-Z's next. I'm hearing rumors that Puffy is snitching on Jay-Z. I heard something about R. Kelly saying something. It's gonna get nasty. But anyway, I'm just on here quick because I just wanted to talk about the effects that the crack epidemic had on our community and how it's affecting us today. It's still affecting us today. So we have a lot of entitled people in our community who think they ain't got to do nothing and they should receive the big bucks, or they should receive a life of luxury because I'm pretty, or I got a BBL. And I could already see somebody clipping that up because they call me BBL Odell. They can kiss my ass. You say almost everyone in my personal perimeter of feds. Thank you, God, for making both my roommates go to rehab. I can finally go to the gym. Josh, you're hilarious. Like I said, bro, you got to camera up one of these days. You are hilarious. What's up, honeybee? Yeah, I say all that to say, like, I've never sold crack. I probably sold weed once, and I regret doing that. But people who've actually like done bad things to people, even like psychological terror, you're gonna get yours. God don't play. And I say it like this. I was just doing some research when God was talking about his people. It's not a race. I think Jag went on her channel the other day and she was kind of like going at the Jews. Oh well. They're the God's chosen, supposedly, because of a religion. I don't believe in that. I think God's chosen. It's your heart. It's your actions. There's a lot of people who try to have toy drives and give stuff to women and do this and that and try to, but they in their heart it's a guilt thing. It's a guilt thing. It's not I'm truly giving it from my heart. Like my boy Black, he's one of those. He says he lusts giving, and I'm the same way. Like if I had $1 million, I'm making sure the babies has got this. I'm finna hook it up, and it's not just out of greed or I feel guilty. It just I would like to see the kids happy. I like to see the old folks happy. If people who need the most help should get the most help. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So God's people, it's not a religion, it's not a race, it's not a gender. It's your heart, straight up. A person like Jay-Z, your heart, you got a dark heart. We know it. I know people that study the occult, and they be like, this just be popping up. And I at first I was like, yeah, y'all bullshit. No, this just be popping up. People be on them dark arts, bro. It's almost like a hack, But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm just saying, like, people, you reap what you sow. So the people who sold dope, they're not, trust me, you're not going to have a fulfilled life. Jay-Z is next with this whole thing that's going on with the Diddy stuff, simply because I think that he It's karma. You just reap what you sow. That's kind of where I'm at with it. You reap what you sow. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I really can say. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Jay-Z hater. I'm just a spectator. Um, but overall, though, yeah, the community was screwed. Took detrimental hits because of the crack epidemic and the crack era. Straight up. You know what I'm saying? That nigga over there, he 4 sandwiches short of a picnic. Not. See, this is why we talked about the 5150 stuff. Dude is just, I don't see no earbuds in his ear. He's laughing. He's just laughing. He's not on the phone or nothing. I don't know. I shouldn't be talking mess. Let's just say God bless him. I hope God bless him. Anyway, I may do a little more research on this and kind of just talk about the stumbling blocks. They talk about that in the Bible, the stumbling blocks that Satan put in front of people or a certain group of people. And that was one of them, the crack epidemic. My always said, my rap was, I was born a few years before the crack epidemic, so my formula and diaper money, moms were spending on that rock to get high, checks were blown off, antenna on that RCA, torn off, in the richest country, the poor streets, ran with thugs, control segments of society with a war on drugs, which is a massive profit scheme, ran by the elite. That's all that drug money ended up on Wall Street. Ricky Ross had to connect with Danny Blandone. All the soldiers took one hit, and every man's gone. Large-scale corruption, halts the sleeping giant. Gary Webb put it in his pages called The Dark Alliance. The DEA, the CIA, Bill Casey helped us push this substance. Now the world is crazy. Real fucking spill. I need to get back. I need to wake my pen up, because I used to, when I read that book, even before I read that book, that's what it was. And I started reading the book, and I was like, I gotta wake my pen up. In fact, I need to go over here to Black. Me and Black be battling. Like, if you ever hear a song me and him do, we're low-key battling each other. But, shout out to the master. Black is dope as hell. But, yeah, the damn crack epidemic, man, was a beast, a stumbling block, And I'll come back. Maybe we'll talk about it. But what do y'all think? I think we have a situation where people have expectations for dating when they've been conditioned to have these certain expectations. They've been spoiled. They've been programmed. And it's cool to be an independent woman until it's cool not to be independent. I think I was telling my daughter, my oldest daughter, because she was like so anti-police. I guess her militant, maybe she was the BLM side or whatever. She was on some. I said, all right, look, I'm going to drop you off on this side of Alameda. That's on the other side of Skid Row. I said, I'm going to drop you off right here, and I want you to walk to maybe the jury district. Between the Arts District and the jury district is Skid Row. I'm like, walk that by yourself. Let's see how you survive without having the damn police involved. The environment. Like, you got some people, like I said it's cool to be an independent woman until it's not cool to be an independent woman. And I was just letting her know, don't think like that. Like, don't be like so anti-cop. We know there's corrupt police, but we got more that are try to be heroes. And women, you could be independent, you could be by yourself, but you can go further with a upright, righteous man. You know what I'm saying? What's the old African proverb? If you want to go far, go alone. And if you want to go, if you want to go far? No, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a group. It's something like that. You know what I'm saying? You say switching back and forth under what? I'm sorry, Mayat, you were saying something, but it went up. Anyway, I just said, let me get on here real quick and spit. That's pretty much it. The damn crack epidemic, it created a mindset today for certain people's expectations, but the environment doesn't doesn't make sense. It's gonna be a lot more. It's gonna be a lot more issues with resources in this country. I'm dead ass. My boy Sherman gave me a lot of his land, and I'm about to do a farm on his little joint until I can wake mine up and do mine. We really got to start thinking about that. Like, people got to start growing their own food. You better do it. Like I said, the environment is changing, y'all. You cannot be on some, you know, every man is not an island. And then that's what I was saying too with this whole Diddy stuff, because it was like, the Diddy distraction. Yeah, it's a Diddy distraction because they're pulling resources away from us every which way. Every time you look around, there's resources that are going to be taken away from us. And we're the only ones who ain't seeing it. We don't see the play. You got people bickering online, bitch shit. How are you helping your neighbor? How are you helping that old lady down the street? How are you feeding the kids? How you number one, how you leading yourself? And then, what's your leadership? Where are your leadership qualities? And you can't, like what Jim Brown said, you can't feed people. If you can't lead people, if you can't feed people. So whether you're feeding them some good game, good knowledge, or if you literally feeding people, you cannot. You can't lead nobody. You can't lead yourself if you're not feeding yourself, right? So, pick up a good book, get off the internet, and stop listening to these damn idiots online that ain't got nothing to say, nothing to do. They're just here to cause commotion. They're here to provide productivity. That's my word. I'm gonna trademark that. All right, y'all. All right, that's it. We go in here and say peace to my guy Art. Y'all follow my guy Art New Style. He's a dope artist, he's a dope teacher. And yeah, that's it. All right, y'all. I might be back. We shall see.